maybe someone doesn't go to college because your medical bills are too much.
Yeah, it could upheaval in your family.
Yeah, maybe you can't walk your daughter down the aisle.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't pick up your grandkids and take them to the pond and teach them how to fish.
Right.
So it really was that last element, and it resonated so well across the entire NAES family and the fleet, because we cut a contract immediately and videotaped it and gave it to all of our plants and said, everyone has to watch this video. Then we started our own campaign, which is NAES Safe for the right reasons, and people started to share their and put posters up on the wall with their children on it and all that to remind them why I work safe.
The world of energy and the technology shaping it. I'm Josh Tate, and this is Between Two Turbines. Powered by NAES. David Jackson, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. I think safety is such a big part of NAES and the culture and kind of everything we do. And I'm curious to hear from you what got you started in this industry and what eventually brought you to NAES.
I feel like I've always been in safety. In fact, I went to school for it. I've got a 4-year degree in occupational safety and health. Yeah. So it was something from my early days that I wanted to gravitate towards.
Yeah. Was there like a seminal moment at some point that you said, this is for me?
Yeah, it was kind of. I actually went to school and started in classes that I thought I wanted to be in, more of the environmental, picking up the environmental side of health. And I took just a couple courses in occupational health, and that's I guess I came out with a degree as an industrial hygienist. That's what they call people in the safety field that are more focused on chemicals, their toxicity, and how and their targets to humans and how they affect them. So that's really what I focused on, and I really liked it. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I came out with a degree of occupational safety and health. Started in the chemical industry. So granted, being an industrial hygienist, doing a lot of sampling and correcting exposures that people had in the chemical industry. And then I moved on, and I actually got back into that environmental field. I took a job with Fluor Daniel at the time. They're the world's largest engineering and construction firm, and they were starting up a business unit on Superfund cleanup. Yeah. They wanted to get into that. So
Super fun,
yeah. The US EPA and all these toxic sites around the country. And so my job was writing the health and safety plans for those, making sure people weren't overexposed to whatever the contaminants were in the soil and
I
in the
imagine
ground.
You have some stories from that period.
Yeah, that could be a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. I'm curious, any that stands out that really has stuck with you?
Actually, in my career, it was actually moving from that health side of safety over to the physical side of safety. Because on those Superfund sites, granted, once you take care of the or control the chemical hazard on the site, the rest of it's all industrial.
Sure.
Heavy equipment, backhoes, cranes, and everything. So I had to really start learning that side of the occupation much more. And what that led me to in Fluor and got me closer at least to NAES was Fluor won some huge contracts with the Department of Energy to clean up nuclear waste sites around the country. I started out in north of Cincinnati, Ohio at a uranium enrichment site.
Oh, really?
That was shut down, and we had to tear that down, clean out the buildings, tear it down, and put everything in a landfill or truck it off the site.
Yeah.
And that brought me to the Pacific Northwest because the Hanford Nuclear Reservation, which if you're from the Pacific Northwest, that's sitting here in the state of Washington.
Right.
That's the largest Superfund site in the country.
Really?
Yeah. And so I came there as the health and safety director of the site, and I spent 14 years there and eventually moved up the ranks and all that. I became deputy Vice President of Environmental Safety, Health, and Quality.
Yeah.
My only note there is never take a deputy job.
Okay.
Okay. What I learned is the deputies do everything, but don't get to go to the chicken dinner and the award celebration afterwards.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've had a lot of this firsthand experience, and I think of like the word nuclear, and people, there's a lot of images that come to people's mind. And my understanding is at this point in time, it's actually pretty damn safe.
It is. When it comes to the energy side of the house, it is pretty safe and highly regulated, but very, very much into that analysis and prove it safe before doing.
Right.
And so very reliable in terms of
always
energy.
On.
Yeah. Now, my experience in it was more on the Department of Energy's weapons side. It was a cleanup of the weapons complex, the old Cold War production of plutonium.
Yeah.
And all that. And then finally, to answer your full question, what got me to NAES? Well, I fell in love with the Pacific Northwest.
You're not the first person.
Right.
You know, I brought my wife up here the first time. I wasn't trying to sell her on it either. We were living in California and kind of figuring out where we wanted to go next. First time, came up here, rode the ferry, and said, "Can we move here?"
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Sounds like similar experience. I mean, it's like the Garden of Eden up here.
It really is, you know. And my family fell in love with it as well, and so I just didn't want to relocate. Yeah. So I started looking around, and NAES was looking for a safety director at the time.
Perfect
I interviewed
fit.
for it, and got the job. So that was. The company in and of itself impressed me.
Yeah.
You know, it's smaller than the companies that I've worked for in my past.
Gotcha.
But again, early on in my career, I thought the best thing anyone could do in their career is go work for the big dogs out there and learn everything you can.
Yeah.
And then bring it to a small, medium-sized company and tailor what's right for them.
Yeah.
And bring that experience. And that's what I had the pleasure of doing here at NAES.
Yeah. There's something about being able to make an impact, and I think, you know, the larger corporations, you're one of many, but at a NAES, it's like, I feel that certainly for myself is we can do something with this, you know. There's room to spread our wings a little bit.
Right.
So what was that like coming to NAES? What was your kind of first impression?
My first impression started in the interview process.
Gotcha.
The people that I interviewed, you could genuinely tell as they described the work they were doing and the company they were working for that they truly loved what they were doing.
Yeah.
And one of my questions is always, well, how long have you been with the company?
Right.
And I was interviewing with people that had 10, 20. I even interviewed with a couple of people that I think were the original founders when there were only 5 people in NAES, and they were still here.
Yeah.
And so that to me was impressive.
Yeah.
It told me that that there was a good core value there, and it seemed to be very family oriented. When you talked about a department, they weren't talking about, well, us in the HR department. They were talking about people. They were using people by name,
right?
You know, and all that. So that was impressive.
It's hard when corporations get so large that you can't help but things become impersonal a little bit, and certainly I've experienced that as well. You know, with Frank had just retired, longest tenured person so far, and did a bit of a story on that, and that was fun. It's just, there really is the people, I think, there's something different about it.
You know, the job title and the work scope and all that might bring you, but what keeps you here are the people and the relationships that you build.
And it's making an impact on society. It's helping. I mean, it's serving a very important need.
Absolutely. Nothing more admirable than providing energy to everyone so that the lights come on when they throw the switch.
Absolutely. Safety seems like it's always one of the big, words that we use to describe what makes NAES NAES. Yeah. And so I'm curious what your first kind of move, what you wanted to do when you got here, and kind of what that evolution's been like.
When I first came here, it was also at a great time. The new president of the company was tasked by our owner, our shareholder, to take the company from good to great. And so what that meant financially is we had 49 plants when I first joined NAES. We now have over 200 of them in the power, plus we have subsidiaries in the construction industry and grid management and all that. So the company has definitely gone from good to great. But it was my opportunity to get a seat at the table and say, well, a good company has a good safety program. We want a great safety program.
Right. Especially 4 times the number of plants.
Yeah.
You know, some of these problems are going to scale, and you got to make sure the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so in my triage when I first came here is NAES had a good safety program, but it was a safety manual driven program.
Okay.
Meaning we've got these good procedures, they were well written, we trained people to them, you use them and everyone will be safe.
Right.
Okay. What was new in the that I had learned in the safety world was to develop a safety management system, which is kind of the glue that holds the safety program together.
Okay.
It's taking what you do in safety and aligning it so it's integrated into the work planning and work execution process.
Right.
So as we say now in our core value of safety, the two become inseparable. You don't plan work and then plan safety into the work. You do both together, and that's not only in the structure around your management system, but it's also the belief within your people.
Yeah.
How they believe. No one now sits there and goes, okay, we want to do this work, but we've got to do all these permits and we got to go get that safety equipment.
Yeah.
There's no but.
That's
part of the
process.
job. It's integrated.
Yeah.
And so that was the first thing that we did early
like
on.
shifting the mindset.
Yeah, in 2013 is build that safety management system. We published it with 6 guiding principles that we said these are the way we filter our thoughts and our actions through.
Yeah.
These 6 core principles. And then we gave it 10 core elements at a very high level, like management leadership, employee involvement, work planning and execution. These 10 core principles have to exist on every NAES job site, whether you're in the power plant business or whether you're on one of our construction sites with our subsidiaries. 10 core elements need to exist. What that did is it allowed some consistency, some reliability and reproducibility in the safety program, which was badly needed. And today, I mean, you can't run across anyone that works at a power plant that doesn't know the NAES core values.
Was it ever hard to kind of convince people of this new way of thinking? Did you ever run into kind of headaches along the way?
I think for the most part the answer is no. I think, again, NAES was at the point of being ripe for change. It's a company of innovators, so they want to look at something new. I think that, the biggest thing would be people worrying that it would just be a flavor of the month, that it would just be a poster stuck on a wall, and not really internalized as a value and an action.
Yeah, like this is what we do here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, because a lot of people will complain about red tape and how do we, I just want to do my job and let me do it the way that I want to, and we can't really roll dice like that.
Right. Well, the neat thing is we married it up to what people do, okay? We didn't try to build anything new. We wanted to take credit for what people were doing. It was just, and forcing back on them to define how they do it. In the 10 core values, when you're planning work, what is your pre-work planning process? We defined what work planning achieved in a safety program.
Yeah.
Then we told them, you define the implementing mechanism at your job site.
Gotcha. Just go off best practice.
That meets that expectation.
Right.
Yeah. And that was the key. Then they had skin in the game.
Right.
They had to take those 10 core elements and say, okay, this is what we do to achieve those 10 core elements. And now we told them, after you've done that, we applauded them for it, and then we turned around and said, what's the weakest of the 10?
Yeah.
And how can we improve that?
Right.
And so it's just this continual cycle of continuous improvement there. And it's under the guise of those 10 core elements of constantly getting better.
Do you feel like in some of these plants that, kind of shaping that culture, do you look for leaders that can like influence. And I often think about trust as like a form of currency, and how do you build that? And, while this guy's just at the headquarters, he doesn't get what we're doing on the ground. How do you bridge that?
Oh yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge, and something that kept me up at night is NAES is so spread out. It's not a manufacturing company where everyone walks through the same gate and you have this captive audience. It's in 4 different countries and all across the United States.
A little different.
Yeah, and they're all little islands in and of themselves. And in the early days, those islands had their own identity, and they weren't NAES. NAES just happened to be the operating manager at the time.
Right.
And if we don't like them, there'll be another one along maybe in the next few years.
Gotcha.
So how to make everyone feel a part of NAES was a big part of the safety program.
Yeah.
And it's right, and over my career, that coming together and building a family usually starts with safety. And the reason for it is you can argue about many things. You can argue about wages,
Sure.
work scope, equipment, and all that stuff. And all of those have their trials, but you can't argue safety. Even if you're angry about it, if I don't want anyone at the job site to get hurt, and even if you represent those, say it's a union site and all that, neither do you.
Right.
Okay. So even if we're at odds, we've got this little piece of common ground where we can talk. And so we used the safety program as that tool to kind of bridge that gap, not only for safety, but all other things, quality, relationships, communication, and all that. You just begin with that idea where you got common ground, which is usually safety. And so we used it as a branding tool. I mean, our safety program's called NAES Safe.
Right.
So when we join another workforce at a new site and all that stuff, that's what we bring to them, and we brand them as NAES through the NAES Safe program. They learn our culture. They learn those 10 core elements.
Yeah.
If they have a program that has gaps in it, we help identify those and help them fix them. But they do get their own NAES Safe manual.
Yeah.
And programs. So they immediately start to be part of this bigger entity, this bigger company. And when you talk about building trust, the way you build trust is it's not going to happen organically. You've got to show them that you're there, that you show up, that you show up when they need you, that you're at the other end of the phone when they call with a problem or a crisis,
right.
And that you're there to help. You're not there to criticize or blame. You're there to help. And I think not only do we do that in the safety department, I think all organizations in NAES
goes down.
just do a great job at it. And that builds that trust and starts to build that I'm part of a bigger collective. I'm a part of a bigger family rather than just this island unto myself.
Right. And my perception is it's more than a dollar and cents thing of, well, we had this many injuries, et cetera. It's for you, it's foundational. It sounds like it keeps you up at night a little bit, wondering how do we put things in place that genuinely keep, these people safe.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, it's not about the regulations anymore. It's not about being just compliant. It's how do I stay in the heads of every employee, and especially those that are on our projects and out our plant sites.
Yeah. Because
me sitting back here in the corporate office doesn't make them safe. It's myself, the great people that work for me, the ideas, the publications, the banter, the communication about safety that we put out with safety moments and safety alerts and protect your for stuff.
I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, all of that is what stays in their heads.
Yeah. I want to hear more about the for the right reason.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
We started out with a safety management system.
Yeah.
The next year we moved people into safety improvement plans, which let me talk about that a little bit because that's kind of unique.
Yeah.
It kind of turns the traditional philosophy of goals and objectives coming from the corporate office down to the workers on the shop floor. And it turns it on its head. It completely does a 180 with it. I wrote my last letter saying, here's our injury rate. Here's how we're having injuries. This is what you need to do this year, this coming year. I wrote that last letter in 2013 and have never written another one because of safety improvement plans. Instead, in 2024, we said, you have to write your goals and objectives. Things that work at your job site, things that work at your power plant. What do you want to fix to make yourself safer? And we gave them some guidelines on that. And then we trusted. You know, they wrote 5 or 6 things that they wanted to improve on their job site. Those could be physical. Those could be habits, getting better habits, or getting better work instruction and training, whatever it was. They get to write it. And then the entire management team, rather than browbeating people on, are you achieving the corporate objective?
Yeah.
It's, are you doing what you said you were going to do?
Yeah.
Okay? And how can I help?
Right.
And then you trust. You hit the I believe button that if everyone at 200 different sites is doing something to improve safety, that once it rolls up to the corporate level, we've gotten better.
Yeah.
You know? And so that was great. After that, we were looking for that final thing to kind of add. So we did the safety management system, safety improvement plans. We were looking for something else, and we ran across a program called Safe for the Right Reasons. We now call it at NAES Safe for the Right Reasons.
Sure.
Okay, so we made it our own. And I can't help enough. One of our preferred vendors and all that is Duvall Safety. And one of the leaders in Duvall Safety, Dale Lisinski, just has this beautiful talk on why you want to be safe for the right reasons. And the 4 is actually the 4 fingers on your hand.
Yeah.
Okay, and we actually had him at our safety conference, and he delivered that speech, that talk for us. And halfway through the talk, he has everyone close their eyes.
Yeah.
And think of the 4 people in your life that you would never want to see hurt.
Right.
Well, that was kind of new right there. You know, the traditional safety person says, well, why do you want to work safe? Well, so that you can go home and be with your family.
Yeah.
Okay? And never really takes that.
Dig in a little deeper.
Dig in a little deeper on that. But this, he was saying, 4 people you never want them hurt.
Yeah.
Okay? And it was like, okay, well, we can do that, you know, your spouse, your kids, if you're married and all that. If you're single, it's your dog, your parents, you know. But you can quickly come up with 4. Then he asks you to open your eyes and then say, well, how hurt would those people be if they received a phone call saying you're on your way to a hospital with a debilitating, serious work-related injury?
Yeah.
Something that's going to alter your life. You'll never come back and be whole again. Okay? And you just go, wow, how would they feel? You know, and then he starts drilling it into your head. It's like, you know, maybe someone doesn't go to college because your medical bills are too much.
Yeah, it could upheaval in your family.
Yeah, maybe you can't walk your daughter down the aisle.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you can't pick up your grandkids and take them to the pond and teach them how to fish.
Right.
You know, so it really was that last element, and it resonated so well across the entire NAES family and the fleet, because we cut a contract immediately and videotaped it and gave it to all of our plants and said, everyone has to watch this video. Then we started our own campaign, which is NAES Safe for the Right Reasons, and people started to share their 4, you know, and put posters up on the wall with their children on it and all that to remind them why I work safe. And the beautiful thing with, you know, connecting it up with the little hand sign and all that was, if you see a fellow worker doing something there's too much risk, you're at risk, or you're not wearing your personal protective equipment, all you had to do is flash the 4. And it wasn't your 4. It was reminding him of his,
right,
and what he needs to be doing and course correct.
Yeah.
You know? very powerful. Okay, and that message, and that really took NAES on another step change in safety improvement. And that's blossomed into what we call Protect Your 4 now, which is a publication we do monthly, which has nothing to do with work. It has everything to do with family safety.
Yeah.
So you're going on a family vacation trip, you're heading out, you have a pool in the backyard, or you're going to the lake, or there's storms and there's flooding. How do you deal with it?
Yeah.
And so just carrying it that one step further, because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, in this day and age where you get hurt. The mere fact that you can't show up to work is a big impact, not only to the company, but to your fellow employees who have to pick up your load.
Right.
Because maybe you got injured at home.
Yeah, because you were taking a shortcut, somewhere. I think of Murphy's Law in a sense that eventually, if you do something the way that you shouldn't, there is a good chance that eventually the bad thing will happen.
Right.
And so if we do it the way where it's not a possibility, then everybody wins.
Yeah. We like to say, Murphy's Law is wrong. Oftentimes what you do wrong ends up with a positive outcome and therefore reinforces it. And so you've got to catch that and undo that behavior.
Right.
And that's part of our management team's responsibility and our supervisors is not to applaud the employee that got a valve unstuck and you ask him how he did it and he said, well, the sledgehammer worked, And it's like, no, we need to do it a different way and a better way and show them the safe way to get that accomplished.
Maybe it works 9 times out of 10, but that 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's not a good working model.
Right.
When it comes to these plants, each of them are owned by different entities, and I wonder for the people on the ground, how do they balance what NAES is wanting from them as well as what the owners are wanting, in terms of safety, trying to be efficient and all those things?
We do have that dynamic, and that dynamic doesn't go away. It is the owner's asset, and we're just the operators and the caretakers of it. Again, you talked earlier, there's a level of trust that has to be developed both between owner and NAES. And our operational directors, I think, do a great job of that. The plant manager, and it cascades down, do get sometimes different influences. Maybe there's not money to do this, or maybe something needs to be rushed, and becomes the highest priority overnight. Very not unusual at all in the power industry. With that, it really goes back to those guiding principles that we put together in our safety management system. We use those as the filter of our decision-making process. And we uphold those and we support those. So it has the ability to do a few things. One, have the conversation on, are we doing the right thing and are we approaching this correctly and with the right amount of protection against the risk? And number two, if we need to slow it down, when we don't see that, one of our guiding principles is each employee having stop work responsibility. And we call it responsibility. A lot of companies call it stop work right or authority, which with all good terms and all that. We like to call it responsibility, all right? Because you have a responsibility when you are faced with risk that is not controlled to stop the job, stop whether you're doing it or others are doing it, and pull back and regroup. And I think one of the great things is I think Dean Blaha always says this is don't drown alone. So those employees on the front line or those supervisors recognize when they do that and they step back, that NAES, all the way from the corner office that Dobler sits in, has their back on that. And we have had those conversations with clients, very few, because most of our clients, once we get to that level, understand that obviously if people feel it's unsafe, I'm missing something, so educate me. And so I think we do a great job of that. I think those types of conflicts are few and far between these days. I would say 10 years ago, we hit them often. but it all rolls back to leadership and knowing that you've got a strong set of core values.
Yeah.
And that you're not pushing them on people, but you are going to use them to filter your conversation with that person.
Right.
And when they're the right core values, people tend to get aligned.
Right. Yeah, and I imagine for the owners, a lot of them understand that safety is of the utmost importance to NAES, and I'm sure other managers of energy as well. But, if we're saying, hey, let's take a break here, let's figure out what we need to do next, I imagine there's some trust there.
Yeah. They hired NAES for that purpose.
Yeah.
It's not only the protection and the operability of their asset, but it's also the people. They have relationships with the people as well.
Yeah.
And they don't want to see the people that they've entrusted to NAES to get hurt.
You see on the news these different industrial facilities or things where, the worst happens. I think there's always an explosion every now and again with some of these facilities. What is, from your perspective, how does that happen exactly?
Scares the hell out of me. Okay?
Yeah.
It always rolls back to there's someone on that site that day or in days prior that could have intervened and stopped whatever that domino effect that's happening at that site that ultimately ends up in an explosion or a serious work-related injury.
Yeah.
And all that. There's someone there
passing the buck
any given day. Yeah. Whether they did it, I don't think anyone does it maliciously.
Sure.
But they don't forward think the consequences of it.
Yeah.
And
someone's
really,
got to take ownership at the end of the day and say, we got to make a choice that you might not like to avoid something problematic.
Yeah. Right. And the other thing is when you're faced with those tough choices, if you think you have to make that choice alone, one of the strong mantras in NAES is you do not have to make that choice alone.
Yeah.
In fact, you are obligated to pick up the phone and make some phone calls, and because the back reach in NAES is there, and they're there because they have your back. So you need to be calling your operational director. You need to be calling our engineer group. You need to be calling the safety group, the environmental group. If you've got a personnel problem, you need to be reaching out to HR.
Yeah.
It's getting out of the box because you're in the tunnel vision. And our human performance improvement training tells you when you're in the tunnel, you don't see all your options.
Yeah.
And when you make that phone call, when you reach back into the corporate expertise, you've got someone outside that box, outside that bubble, that is looking down into your issue,
right,
and can help you make the right decision.
Do you think there's ever a fear of maybe, I'm too low on the totem pole, maybe I just don't understand enough and I don't want to rock the boat?
People come in all different shapes and sizes and attitudes and beliefs. So yeah, that does exist out there. But it can exist once you start up that management or leadership chain.
Yeah.
You've got to divorce yourself from it. It's I like the mantra, if not me, then who?
Yeah.
Okay? And you've got to pick up that type of mantra and basically say, I see something, it's not right. I need to either fix it myself or I need to get others involved and start it on the road to being fixed.
And I think that quality in particular, and I think in this space that the buck stops with me, that I have to, take responsibility here, because if not me, then who? Is that a quality you look for in people that are part of your team?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you want to talk the team, I could talk all day on the 7 people that work for me. They're phenomenal. In fact, they're friends, they're family. But the biggest thing is we don't all think alike.
Yeah.
When we get together, we have quite a bit of diversity of opinion and approach, and that's good.
A lot of perspectives at the table.
And we really, the great thing about the group is they offer the environment of respect and dignity with a little banter. But at the end of the day, they respect everyone's opinion.
Yeah.
And we come to a conclusion, and we all walk out of the room preaching from the same hymnal.
Yeah.
And that's a huge quality to have in people. I mean, I would say the discretionary effort that I get out of 7 people is the work of 40.
I mean, that has to be in part your influence on them, your leadership in that, and
My leadership style has changed.
Tell me about that. What's changed?
Well, in talking with my background, the large Department of Energy sites. I mean, the first site I stepped on in the Department of Energy had over 3,000 employees,
Wow.
and I'm the safety director at day one.
Yeah.
And the next site, the Hanford site, had 20,000 employees.
Wow.
Okay, so what do you do when you're dropped into the deep end of the pool?
Yeah.
The unique thing is because those are run or influenced by government agencies, they were slow and lethargic.
Gotcha.
Okay? Yeah, I hate to say that because there's a lot of great people that work out there. So your management style has to be what I've come to know through NAES is a pace setter style, meaning I grab the flag, I jump out in front of the group, and I say, "Follow me!"
Yeah.
And everyone follows me, and I make the decisions, and we all get to where we need to go.
Yeah. Was that easy for you to jump into?
That style I could do.
Okay.
But I brought it to NAES, and it failed miserably.
Really?
I mean, I had a good group.
Yeah.
They were patient with me, but I could tell that they were also quietly rebelling
Gotcha.
against me because of that.
There was an alignment internally for them.
Right. And so, I went to one of the NAES offered courses that are still offered today on leadership. Back then, it was an Itoshu course, and it was called P3. And I went there and I learned the styles of management, and I got feedback from a survey from all of my peers and my people and all that, and it wasn't glowing. But it told me that they don't like the pace setter style of
Gotcha.
management, and I came to realize that they were all high potential, high professionals.
Yeah.
And at any given day, any of them could have stepped in my shoes and done my job.
Gotcha.
So when you have a group like that, I learned I had to become a mentor, a coach, and I had to give up responsibility. And that was probably the toughest thing for me to do, is to give assignments and be happy with the person working it and the results they brought back.
Their ownership
And
of it.
yeah, because I thought I was doing that, but what I was doing is asking them, "Hey, do this project," and then they'd come back and say, "Here's the completion," and I'd say, "Oh, that's great. Now I'm going to sit here and just add a little bit more to it, add my flair to it," and felt like I always had to do that, and that's what they really resented. Once I gave up that control, that's what I'm going to call it, in my personality.
Yeah, from control to influence.
Yes. It was life-changing for me and for my staff. My staff thrived. The pressures that I felt in my workload went away.
Yeah.
Now there are times I wonder if I'm assigning too much,
Gotcha.
because it's like, wow, I just walked out of this meeting and I don't have the assignments anymore.
Yeah.
But they eat it up. They love it. I'll probably get some feedback after this that maybe they don't love it that great, but I do know that together they just pull together and they make things happen. They help one another and all that. It doesn't matter that, oh, well, you were given that assignment. No one's going to sit there and watch you fail.
Right.
They're going to say, you need some help on that.
Right.
I've got some time.
Right.
So it's just great.
Yeah, I think feedback is a tough pill to swallow, but it is so powerful if you listen to it.
It is. If you listen to it, and not only did the leadership course, not let you confront that, but then also started to give you the tools on how to change yourself for the better, and for the betterment of the group.
Yeah. NAES recently had this Gecko partnership. We're getting more into the AI robotics space, adding that type of thing. I hear stories about Amazon having warehouses that there's not even any humans in there. It's just dark rooms with robots running around. Yeah. I'm curious what technology is coming and how you see that affecting safety.
I see it. I see it in the literature. I see a lot of vendors bringing stuff forward. It is going to change safety. I think safety will be, in some cases, slow to react to it,
Sure.
or technology or innovation just for safety purposes will work for some industries, but not for all.
Yeah.
I really think what I see in NAES and in the energy market in general is the movement to lower and lower staffing on job sites. I mean, we now have peaker sites that have nobody at them, only a roving technician team, and that's one or two employees. The battery storage, the battery energy storage facilities may have nobody. They're all remote operated and all that. But yet somebody occasionally needs to go out there,
check on it,
do inspections, run some tests and stuff like that. So in the realm, I think that in the very present realm in NAES, it is the fear of protecting that lone worker.
Right.
Okay. And we do have a lone worker program. Several years ago, we partnered with Blackline Safety, which has developed an instrument that actually will monitor a worker when they're working alone. And it'll pick up on it. It'll do whatever it needs. If it needs to get to the internet or Wi-Fi or even uplink to satellites and all that, it will do it so that it makes sure it tracks that worker. And it's a powerful tool as well on our renewable natural gas sites. We have that Blackline unit is also incorporated into a methane sniffer, a combustible gas sniffer, hydrogen sulfide detector, a combustible gas detector, and all that. So the employees actually have to keep it with them as a tool to do their jobs on those sites, as well as monitor their health with the gases that might be in the area. But it's also personally monitoring them to make sure they're moving and all that. If it becomes still at any length of time, a dispatch unit is going to call to it and say, "Hey, are you all right?" You know, and the person has to respond physically by pushing a button on the unit. And if the employee does go down and they're still cognizant, they can push the emergency button on it, and that dispatch unit will start to roll 911 services and notify supervision and all that. So very powerful tool, kind of a carry along. In the future, we had one site just this last year look at an innovation of monitoring their employees for heat stress, which is a wearable type of unit that the employees would wear. It has an AI feature where it learns your baseline, so you got to wear it for a while, and then it starts monitoring when you get outside your baseline in terms of pulse rate, skin temperature, and other factors, and then we'll talk back to you. Say, hey, is it about time you need to take a break now or get some water or something like that? And then if it gets no response, it'll start to notify management and all that to come out and check on you.
Yeah, and I mean, that's incredible stuff. My Apple Watch always tells me to stand up.
Yeah, mine does too.
So,
and I push the button, ignore it, and go back to work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of data that can be easily collected and processed now, and it's like, why not use it?
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely, and that's where I see as NAES pushes forward into robotics, into AI, all of that. Safety has a seat at the table and watches it, and then will react to it. You know, how is the worker being protected, or how can we promote the worker protection through this? Certainly. A robot that can go into confined spaces or hazardous atmospheres where we don't have to place a human being is definitely all on board for it. In the same token, there are just certain things that type of modernization can't do, and you always need the human element. So we'll always be out there, looking for ways to protect the worker, because in one way or another they'll still be involved and engaged.
Yeah, I think AI, robotics, they don't have a four. They don't have four people that they could lose.
Yep.
And that is something I don't think as advanced as the algorithms and robotics can get, that's something that it'll never have that weighing on its mind.
Right. It's also, I think our employees are empowered with a questioning attitude. So they may have a task today in that one spot in the plant or in the work area and all that, but their head's on a swivel. And so I'm doing this and I know the hazards of that, but I can look over here and all of a sudden say, hey, there's something that doesn't look right here. We're at risk on this, and bring that back. And that's something, maybe AI will get good enough to be programmed that way, to have that distractive thought to be able to focus. I don't know.
We'll see. It'll be fun. Any vision for the future that you see where NAES is headed, and any kind of new things on your mind as we're kind of plunging ahead?
I would like to cement NAES where it landed last year. Last year, NAES had such a reduction in workplace injuries and all that, that it placed us in the top 10% of the safest employers in the energy industry.
Wow.
We look at it right now, that's an anomaly. That's 1 point. Okay. I would like that to be the course of action from here forward. Let's permanently cement NAES in that top 10%. The best of the best. It'll take some work, but we've proven to ourselves last year that we could do it. Okay. So I firmly believe we will get there. Okay. Now that's kudos for NAES, but what does that mean for our workforce? That means certainly personal safety. It means being able to go home to your 4 and enjoy them. It also translates into new jobs and new awards, because our clients want someone that protects all of their assets, not just the physical plant, but protects the people as well. It protects the reputation not only of NAES but of our clients, because their name is on the front of the gate.
It's hard to put a price on mitigating risk.
So the efforts and the vision of the future is to get there. I don't know all the steps, okay, but I do know that at least in the past decade and all that, we always take the step in the right direction, okay, and then we'll arrive, okay. So I know that, and that's going to create longevity of NAES, and as well as longevity for people that want to work for NAES, and I think knowing an employer treats you like family and has an honest and genuine concern for your safety and your well-being is a place where I'd like to work. And I think our employees like working there as well.
Well, David, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
I've enjoyed it.
A lot to learn, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
Okay, I'd like that.